Welcome to my no bullshit Unholy Death Knight guide for Midnight Season 1. Unholy Death Knights are simple but devastating melee damage dealers that use diseases and an army of undead minions to dish out tons of damage, both in single target and AoE situations. I will cover everything you need to turn you into a true Plague Lord. Talent builds, DPS rotations, the best gear to craft, and general tips for fun gameplay. Now, let's dive straight in. First, let's take a look at our general playstyle, which is pretty simple. You apply your diseases with Outbreak, generate lesser ghoul stacks with Festering Strike, and spend them on Scorched Strike. Death Knights use runes instead of mana, and your rune spenders build up runic power, which you dump into Death Coil for single target or Epidemic for AoE. We have one main rule. Use Army of the Dead on cooldown. It's the entire spec's burst window. Every minute it's sitting there is wasted damage. And don't overcap your runic power. Now let's talk talents. Unholy Death Knights can choose between Rider of the Apocalypse and Sen Lane as their hero talent trees. Rider of the Apocalypse is better for pretty much all content, so I will focus on that. To keep things simple, here are two talent trees to get you started. One leaning into single target for raid encounters and another one optimized for Mythic Plus or dungeons. Both builds handle single target and AoE well and play pretty much the same. The Mythic Plus build just shifts a few talents around to buff your Magus pets for more sustained AoE damage. Feel free to swap some utility talents around depending on the content you do. You can find the import strings for all builds in the description of this video. One important note: Forbidden Knowledge is the talent that defines this spec. Army of the Dead triggers a 30-second burst window where your Death Coil becomes Necrotic Coil, cleaving up to 3 targets, and your Epidemic becomes Graveyard. This is where most of your damage comes from. The talent Reaping makes your Dark Transformation reset your Soul Reaper cooldown and lets you press it on any health target, not just below 35%. This means a free Soul Reaper every minute. Yay! Now let's take a look at our priority list. First, the pure single target rotation. Outside of Forbidden Knowledge, the priority looks like this. Use Outbreak if Virulent Plague is not active on the target. Use Army of the Dead and Dark Transformation on cooldown, ideally together. Soul Reaper whenever it's up, Putrefy while Dark Transformation is active, Festering Scythe to apply the debuff, Death Coil on sudden Doom procs, Festering Strike if you have no lesser ghoul stacks, Scorched Strike if you have lesser ghoul stacks, and Death Coil as a filler. During Forbidden Knowledge, the rotation gets simpler. Use Soul Reaper whenever you can, Putrefy on cooldown, Festering Scythe to apply the debuff, Necrotic Coil, Festering Strike if you have no lesser ghoul stacks, and Scorched Strike if you have lesser ghoul stacks. Your single target opener looks like this. You run in and Outbreak, Festering Strike into Festering Scythe, Army of the Dead with Dark Transformation, Soul Reaper, Necrotic Coil 2 times, Putrefy into your normal single target rotation. A quick macro tip: Dark Transformation is off the global cooldown. Macro it to Army of the Dead so they always fire together. This keeps the talent Commander of the Dead synced for maximum damage. Now let's take a look at our priority list for AoE with 3 or more targets. Outside of Forbidden Knowledge, use Outbreak if Virulent Plague is not active, Army of the Dead and Dark Transformation on cooldown, Festering Scythe to apply the debuff on the targets, and Soul Reaper on cooldown. Putrefy while Dark Transformation is active, Death and Decay if the targets are stationary, Epidemic, Festering Strike if you have no lesser ghoul stacks, and Scorched Strike if you have them. During Forbidden Knowledge, the AoE priority list looks like this. Use Festering Scythe to apply the debuff on all targets. Use Putrefy on cooldown. Death and Decay if the targets are stationary. Soul Reaper on cooldown. Graveyard, Festering Strike if you have no lesser ghoul stacks, and Scorched Strike if you have lesser ghoul stacks. Keep in mind, while Forbidden Knowledge is active, use the AoE rotation only at 5 or more targets. If it's less than that, just use the single target rotation because it cleaves. Your multi-target opener looks like this. You run in and Outbreak, Festering Strike into Festering Scythe, Army of the Dead and Dark Transformation together into Soul Reaper, Putrefy, Graveyard, Death and Decay, Graveyard, another Death and Decay into your normal multi-target rotation. If you found that useful so far, make sure to subscribe to my channel for future guides and updates. How should you use your cooldowns? Basically, zug zug. Send them when they're up. One of the biggest mistakes you can do as a DPS player is holding your cooldowns for too long. You want to get the most uses out of every encounter or dungeon. Only hold them if you know another big pull or important adds are coming up within the next 10 seconds. If in doubt, send your cooldowns. Alright, we know how to do damage now, but how do we keep ourselves alive? Unholy Death Knights have a big defensive toolkit. Icebound Fortitude reduces incoming damage by 30% and makes you immune to stuns. Anti-Magic Shell eats magic damage and generates runic power when it absorbs damage. Lichborn makes you immune to charms, fears and sleeps. If you need healing, use Death Strike to heal yourself. Just make sure to use your defensives preemptively to mitigate incoming damage instead of using them when you're already at 5% HP. Better safe than sorry. Another important survivability tool is Mind Freeze, also known as Kick. Use it to interrupt spells to completely negate the damage of the cast. While raising the dead is fun, being dead yourself isn't, so make sure to interrupt as often as possible. The difference between a good and a great Death Knight player is how they use their utility to help the team. Raise Ally is your combat res, one of the reasons DKs are always welcome in raids and keys. Anti-Magic Zone drops a group-wide magic damage reduction zone, which is huge on magic heavy encounters. And for ad control, you have Death Grip to pull enemies in. And Blinding Sleet disorients a whole pack of casters in a cone in front of you. Now for the stat prio. Most of the time, a higher item level with more strength will be better than your lower item level gear. Otherwise, you want to prioritize Mastery, Crit, Haste and Versatility. But as always, make sure to sim your character to know what the best item is for you. You can check my simming guide in the top right corner. Now, let's talk about your best crafted gear and consumables. If you don't have a high item level weapon, craft a two-handed weapon with the embellishment Dark Moon Sigil Hunt. It doesn't matter which one of the different two-handed weapons you choose because they do the same damage. Then craft either braces or a cloak with the embellishment Arcana Weave Lining. If you already have a high item level piece in these slots, feel free to craft another piece. There is no set rule, just keep improving your weakest slots over time. If you have a high item level weapon already, you can use a second armor piece with Arcana Weave Lining. And if you're not sure what's better, just sim it. Good gear should be treated well, so make sure to enchant and gem it. For your meta gem, use the indecipherable Eversong Diamond. And for the rest of your gem slots, use Flawless Masterful Garnet. Here are the best enchants. A good Death Knight is always prepared, so make sure to use these consumables here. Especially the Silver Moon Health Potion is extremely useful. It's basically an extra defensive cooldown that you get. Usually they are dirt cheap on the auction house and you don't even have to buy rank 2 ones. The best food is Silver Moon Parade for group feasts or Royal Roast if you want to eat your own food. Before we wrap up, here are the biggest mistakes I see Unholy Death Knights make. Number 1. Sitting on Army of the Dead. This is the spec's entire burst profile. Every minute you're not using it is throwing damage away. Literally. Number 2. Desyncing Army of the Dead and Dark Transformation. With Commander of the Dead talented, they must be used together, so make sure to macro them. Number 3. Pressing Scorched Strike with 0 Lesser Ghoul stacks. It does nothing without stacks. Build them up with Festering Strike first and then send it. Number 4. Holding Sudden Doom procs. This is your strongest non-cooldown button. Press Death Coil or Necrotic Coil immediately when it procs. You don't want to waste them. Number 5. Running no unused trinket. Unholy's burst profile pretty much demands one. Try and get Light Company Gaiden and line it up with Army of the Dead every time. Got questions? Drop a comment or ask me live on twitch.tv/NinoMMO. For more detailed written information, check out the class Discord Acarus or the Wowhead guide in the description. Now go and raise your army! Thanks for watching, bye bye.